First, what is collaboration and communication? Of course, that's what we've been talking about, working cohesively. English is not my first language. Exchanging ideas and conveying information effectiveness. They help ensure that final product not only meets user needs, but also aligns with business goals and constraints. I remember Goodness mentioned it where whenever you want to do something, you don't just design. Just one thing that makes Goodness stand out is she does not just design. Her design goes with the vision and mission of the client. You can imagine that they've asked you to design a website for a company. And if one of the value of the company is, let me say, simplicity, if one of their values is simplicity, imagine a company telling you that their value is simplicity and their site is complicated. So when you're doing your design, there are ways that you can also integrate the company vision, their mission, into your own design, right? So this is very important. And the only way you can be able to excel is when you do collaboration and communication, when you collaborate and communicate with your clients, with the development team, and everybody is talking together. There are companies that their value is technology. If you're going to be designing for a company that is talking about technology, trust me, you want to add some extra functionalities to whatever their design is, right? If you're going to be working with a company that is a conglomerate, there is no way you want to do one page and stock everything. The landing page should be something that introduces maybe a button or a tree or something that will allow you to go, maybe if they're into fashion, into real estate, into this, their landing page is something that it will allow you to choose the branch, right? So whatever their values, whatever their services is, whatever their goals are, these are the things you put into your design, and if you don't communicate with them, you won't know. So of course, why we need it is that it facilitates effective teamwork, alignment, and successful execution of design project. And some of the key points we'll be talking on will be clear communication channels. I think, Goodness, I'll hand over to you to cover this one.
I'm going to take us through the key aspects of collaboration and communication. First, key aspect is clear communication channels. So as a UX designer, one thing you want to make sure you're good at is clear communication. So you want to establish clear communication, clear channels of communication within the design team and with stakeholders. This can include in-person meetings, project management tools, such as Slack. Most companies use Slack or what's the name of this other tool again? Let me check.
Jira.
No. ClickUp. Yes, ClickUp.
Okay, ClickUp.
Most companies use ClickUp as well as a product management tool. Instant messaging platforms such as Slack. Yeah, you can use email or video conference, just like the one we're using now. Choose channels that allows for effective efficient and timely communications. So as a UX designer, one thing you want to establish is clear communication with your design teams and stakeholders. Firstly, you want to understand the problem that the company is trying to solve, right? Once you understand the problem they're trying to solve and you're able to establish these clear communications with stakeholders, you want to make sure that in your design team, you're communicating very well as well, so that you're able to understand each person's task in the design team. You're able to communicate, share screen to design, and everybody is basically on the same page, right? Another point is cross-functional collaboration. UX design often involve collaboration with other disciplines such as development, marketing, product management, and business stakeholders. Foster a collaborative environment where different teams can work together to align goals, share insights, and contribute to the design progress. So one thing that makes for a successful product is not only the UX design, right? So it involves every member of the team, which involves the developer, the marketing team, product manager, and everybody. So you want to make sure that you're collaborating with each one, every member of every other team very well, so that everybody is on the same page, right? So that marketing team and customer care service team are not promising the user something else, while the design team is designing something else, the marketing team is advertising something else. Everybody's just doing what they like on the project, right? So you want to make sure that you are collaborating with every member of every other team to establish clear communication on the project and what is to be done, what you're doing, where you're at, right? So that everybody is on the same page, basically. Design workshops and brainstorming. Conduct design workshops and brainstorming session to encourage creative thinking. So this might not necessarily be on you. It depends on like the kind of company you're working with, right? So mostly you have like brainstorm sessions just to understand the project better and where everybody is at on the team, right? This foster growth in the company and as well as the project. So yeah, you want to make sure that you're attending these brainstorming sessions and workshop. Design review and feedback. Regularly review and provide feedbacks on design work within the team. Encourage constructive feedback and helps improve the design and aligns with the project goals. Create a culture where team members feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and suggestions, right? Okay, so most times when our designs are being criticized, we mostly take it personal, right? There's this saying, separate your feelings and emotions from your design. It's going to help you in your design journey, because at the end of the day, sometimes you design something and the stakeholders are like, no, we don't like this and all. So you might sometimes feel like they are saying they don't like your work, but no, they don't like the design, right? Everybody is on the team is working towards a specific goal, which is the success of the project. So when they're saying, oh, okay, we don't like this, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that, make sure you're taking the reviews constructively, not getting upset like, oh, they don't like my designs and all like that. Yeah, so you want to make sure that you're taking the criticism as a way to improve the product, right? And if you feel like, oh, okay, you're not seeing it the way I'm seeing it, you can easily explain yourself, take them through the design while you made each design decision, so that they would understand you. So where are we? Design reviews and feedback. Regularly review and we've talked about that as well. Make sure that you're not taking the criticism on your design as a bad criticism. Make sure you're open to design feedbacks, and you're taking them constructively. That would help improve the project and help everybody on the team. Design systems and style guides. Establish design system and style guides that serve as a central source of truth for design assets and guidelines and specifications. So this is something you want to do at the beginning of the project. You want to make sure that you're clear on the colors you want to use, on the typeface you want to use, on the design style you want to use, basically the border lines you're using, stroke, whether you're using stroke, you're using drop shadows and everything. You want to make sure that you're clear on all of these, and you're using it consistently throughout your design, throughout the design, so that your designs are consistent, right? You want to make sure that you have this style guide in place, especially if you're working on like a big project, so that if you're asking you to make changes to your design, it would not be really hard to make those changes, because once you create a style guide or a design system is like very big. So at the end of the day, it's not just the UX designer that is working on the design system. It's basically everybody on the team, including the development team, right? Everybody on the team is working hand in hand to design the design system, basically. But a style guide is still mostly the job of like the UX designer. I don't know if I have confused you with this design system and style guide. Okay, so basically style guide is just the color, the typeface, and basically just the color and typeface mostly, and icons, yeah, basically, I think these three are like for style guide, basically to guide your developer through the design as well, right? But a design system is like the whole system of the project entirely, which includes the frame you're using, the borderline you're using, stroke and everything. Buttons, yes, buttons includes the buttons and like every aspect of the design. Basically, companies like Google have a design system, companies like Apple have a design system, and they basically release it. So like you're designing something for your company, you're following this guidelines and you're not going out of it, basically. Yeah, so you want to make sure that if you're starting a project, you're building base as a UX designer. You might as well just start with like the style guide, which just the colors, link the typeface, link the make sure that you're when you're designing your buttons, you're designing it in variables and all of that. But basically these are a bit advanced. Yeah, so it's like when you're working on like a big project, you want to do most of these things. Yeah, so for the next part of this key aspect, Ibuso is going to take us. Yeah, thank you. Ibuso.
Yeah, thank you so much, Goodness. Yeah, so yeah, back to the next. So we also have version control and file management. And that has to do with whatever tool or whatever designs you've made, like some of these designs we're talking about. If you were being
Sorry, Biso.
yeah.
I think David's hand is up. I don't know whether I
Oh,
wanted
okay,
to ask a
okay.
question to Goodness. Yeah.
Okay, David.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Please, I'm sorry for interrupting, but my power is going down. I want to ask a question regarding Goodness this session. I don't know if I should go on.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. So she talked about design systems right now. I want to ask, how is it possible you're working on a new project and you have to make do with, you have to create a design system and style guides. Now, how will you know, because you are creating colors, typography, sizes, and all that. So how, because you're not done with the project, as a matter of fact, you've not started. So how will you know, okay, the color I can agree based on a graphic artist angle now, but how will you know the elements you are using in the design, like typography? How will you know the size? How will you know, like, how will you preset all those things before actually moving into the design? Into the design project. The projects we worked on lately, I was just about creating a design system, and I discovered that I have finished my design before creating the system. So can you just throw more light into this? Thank you.
Okay, so basically, yeah, as a junior, trust me, they're not going to ask you to come up with the design system for the project. If there is going to be a design system, probably your company has it. And if they don't, if it's like a startup, you're just coming up with a style guide. And that is why you have to do something called design testing before you start. So you're testing the you're testing the body size, you're testing basically most of these things to see the one that is going to work for the project. You're working with like say size 64 for header, testing it with body size of like 16. You're just checking different, you're choosing the best. So at the end of the day, if you continue your design and you see that nah, I think this thing that I chose is not working, it's just easy for you to just go to the linked aspect, change the size from say 69 to 50 something, or your 16 to like 20. You can just easily change it from the linked typeface. You know how to link your typeface and your colors if you're working with a style guide, right? Do you?
Yeah.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
Oh yes. So it's easy for you to just change it from there if while you're working on your project you discover, oh no, this size is not working. You know, it's going to be, if you're changing it from there, it's going to change across all your screens. You're not going from screen to edit each size, right? And you can easily change like your typeface from there as well. It's just change it from there and it changes across all the screens. But you want to make sure that you're linking, if you're working on a very big project, trust me, you want to make sure that you've linked it before you start working. Because I think the last project I worked on with my company, we have like close to 100 screens, and they might just come and just say, no, let's not use this size again, let's change it to a smaller size. And you can't keep going from one screen to another, changing the size from to them it's a little change, right? It's just change from say 16 to 20. But for me, it means going from one screen to another, changing the size, changing the distance from each of them and all like that, right? But if you have linked it from the beginning of the project, it's just easy for you to just go there and just change it to 16 and it changes across all the screens, right?
Wow, thank you so much. I'm very good now. Thank you.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Good. All right. So continuing, we're talking about version control systems and file management. So at this point, there's something called version control, and it has to do with, supposing you start a design, like you have some logos, you have some documentations, you have some design files, because the asset you use in your design, of course, we already have them in a folder or already imported on your design. Now, if you're moving from stages to stages, you have to keep a record of each of the files. So if you're working with things like Git and maybe Bitbucket, you discover that maybe the designs or what you guys were working on, you can keep a version of it, keep a second version of it. And if your company or your client says that no, they prefer the first version, you can always go back to the first version of whatever you're doing, because there are scenarios. Remember that when you finish your work, your design work, even on SD Figma, you can actually save it as a file, as a local file. So it is very important for you to know. For now, you might not really dive into it, especially for us that are coming into design newly, but just have it in mind that there is something called version control. And it means that you have different versions of your design components and files and assets and everything. So you can always switch from version A to version 1 to version 2. If you're working with a team, and supposing I'm working with David and then with Victoria, and I just come into the system and change something, I need to clearly define what I did, what I updated, and also keep a version of it. In case the entire team is not okay with what I did, we can go back to the previous version, right? So if you're going to be working with files that you export and have it like individually, maybe you've exported your work, we should always have different versions of it. So that's very important. Then collaborative prototype and design tools, we've really touched on this in our previous classes. We won't be talking more. So it utilize collaborative prototyping and design tools that enable real-time collaboration among team members. These tools allows us for simultaneous editing, commenting, sharing. This is what we do in Figma. We're all working together in one project. Like the questies that submitted assignment, what they did is that they sent me a link to their project. I can get into their project and I can see, although not everyone gave me a edit right, I'm sure they don't trust me that much. But if they trust me, they would have given me a edit right. Then I can look at their design and then I'll touch one or two things, right? And they're going to see it live. And the beautiful part about Figma is that if you share your work with me, as I'm moving my mouse to do anything, you're going to see my head moving on your design, right? So that is real life. So we're not just talking. As we're talking, I'm touching something, I'm touching the menu. Victoria is seeing what I'm doing, she's seeing what I'm doing, and David is also seeing what I'm doing. So this kind of things is actually going to promote collaboration and communication. We also have user testing and feedback. We've been saying user testing and feedback. If you don't know anything, in this entire program. I'm sure if they ask you if you sleep and you just woke up and they ask you what is user testing, I'm sure that everyone will be able to talk about user testing. It's just that not everyone is able to speak, right? But I know you all know user testing and feedback. It's about testing what we've done. If you've designed a website, you want to see how it looks. You want to ask your friends, you want to ask clients to see what like. You're trying to see how it's responsive. You're trying to see if you're designing something for a desktop or for a, let me say, web version, you want to see the space between the left margin that you've kept and the right margin, right? If you're designing for an iPad, you want to see the space of how the menu is, how the logo is. The truth is that the size of logo you even use for your web version is not the same or should not be the same with what you use for your tab version, right? For your phone version is also not the same. So you want to test it. On web version, it could be good. On a tablet, it could be good, but on phone is not good. This is where you start testing again. You get feedback from people that are testing this stuff with you. And then we have documentation and design and off. So this is where there's actually a difference, right? Because when you're actually handing off your design, when you're done with all the design, we're done with everything we're doing, you really want to hand off all that you've done. And in this, you don't just design and just tell me that you're done with the work, right? By the grace of God, we'll be working on real life projects with some of us in this group. And you can't just, if you do something, if you're giving a task to do a particular page, I need to know what you've done. The design lead needs to know what you've done to your design. So you need to tell us the kind of what's the name? Interaction, micro interaction you've done, even though we'll come back to the design and see the transition level. I'll look at what you've done in your prototyping phase and see the delay seconds and all of those things. You still need to give a clear explanation of what you've done, right? You want to tell us the breakpoint, the number, the size. You don't just design for web, design for tab, design for phone, and tell me that you're done. No, because you can be designing. If you want to design on Figma, you can choose a Samsung phone, maybe A12 to design, and you cannot just allow me to just go and feel that you've done the work. No, you need to tell me the breakpoint you've decided for mobile phones. You need to tell me the breakpoint that you actually use for iPad. The reason we have this desktop, iPad, phones, and all of those things is just to guide you in your designing. That's what Figma does. But when you're presenting, you need to tell us what the breakpoint is, because the front-end engineer does not even know too much about, except the ones that have learned design, right? But not everyone knows too much. So they just look at it, they just start coding in whatever they are doing in their style sheet. Breakpoint, they put their styling for breakpoint. So at so breakpoint, the grid should adjust. So you need to give clear documentation. And there's something called continuous improvement. Nobody is perfect. You can never hear me say I'm perfect. I'm always learning. Before I sleep today, I will learn. So always make sure that you're keeping up with the current trend, what is in vogue now. Nowadays, buttons do a lot of stuff. Some buttons will hide. Once you're putting your password, you don't need to even put, so if you're working with an app that has to do with OTP, like those, you know what OTP is when you want to get into your app, there is this one-time password that is being sent to your phone, or you want to use PayPal. You don't want a situation where immediately you finish putting your code, you want to press enter. Before you are, after putting your code, you need to press a button, enter. But if you're designing, you don't need to even put that button anymore. You just need to put maybe an icon, one for good, one for bad. So if the OTP is correct, the good should go. 2 seconds delay to the entering screen. These are things you need to keep up with the latest trend. I don't know what will happen tomorrow. When I was working with Figma, I didn't know that in smart card, you can now scan. Like I don't know if in that other parts, if you put scan, like you just snap your card and you make payment, right? So I don't know if that's what you, but that I'm exposed to such now. You can use your camera, just snap your card and you've made your payment. Or you can use your phone, you tap some payment system and you've paid. like your phone, right? So now if you're, and I'm sure it's because we have things called Google Pay and Apple Pay. So those integrations are now working with bank. So if you're designing app now, you should start integrating those type of screen. Don't just do an app that deals with putting your card number, putting this. You should also, in your design, you should put something that looks like an icon. It means that if user clicks there, the camera should be able to come up, and that will allow them to scan their card. So these are upcoming features that are there. There are also designs now that you do. Try to do something that has to do with AR or VR kind of virtual reality system. So don't just sit with the olden days bank app that people are using. If you want to design something for your portfolio now, if you join, by the time we go into how to learn and get advanced, you'll be exposed to what we do. We don't just sit and design skill does not just come to the head. It's not like that, right? You have to look at what people are designing and also learn and try to follow up. So regularly reflect on collaboration and communication process and seek opportunities for improvement. This bootcamp is one of the kind of programs you should indulge in for your improvement, right? So these are the things that we should always put in mind. And the next one will be knowledge of technology. I'll quickly rush this. So for technology, knowledge of technology is you need to know these tools. That's why I was saying initially that you should be able to get familiar with the kind of tools and the kind of terminologies that designers use. So when you're being asked, like I say, you must not have a job to be a designer, but you could have a good job that your design skill will give you an edge, right? So understand the capacities and limitations of the development technology and framework. If someone asks if you're using Figma and a company asks you, we want you to do a prototype and we want to make sure that this prototype can be able we want to see how it will happen if someone puts a real password or wrong password. You know that Figma does not do conditional prototyping, and you carry your Figma skills and go and tell your employer that yes, you can do it, and they leave you with Figma. You will suffer, you will sweat. But instead of wasting your time on Figma, you have these Figma skills. You can use other stuff like, is it Proto IO or so? You can use one of those apps or is it InVision or some of those ones that allows you to do conditional designing. So this is the kind of thing that you need to know what your Figma can do. And you need to know what other platforms can do. You need to know what Sketch can do. A company can tell you that I have Sketch, I've subscribed for Sketch. We want you to be able to use Sketch and do prototype. You can do wireframe. You can do a lot of stuff. But for them to see the real life demonstration of these things, you cannot be able to do it. So UX design is influenced and supported by various technologies and tools that aid in design process and creation of user-friendly interfaces. I'm going to show you some of the tools. So for design, these are the key points we're going to touch on: knowledge and technology, design and prototyping tools. We have softwares like Sketch, Adobe SD, Figma, InVision, Azure RP. Is the Azure RP that does the conditional prototyping, and Proto AIO are commonly used for creating designs, wireframes, and interactive prototype. You know all these things. By now, if you don't know any of these tools, at least you've heard us talk about Figma. You've heard us talk about Sketch. You've heard us talk about SD. At least these basic ones, if you know, you're good to go. All you need to do is know their use, know their functions, play around it. If you can master Figma with your time, I can assure you that you can be able to jump on SD. You can be able to jump on any other script or any other tool. If you can do design before now, it will be very easy for you to jump on any other stuff. Now we have graphic design software. Yes. This part, people were just thinking that you just come to UI, UX, and you start playing with Figma and all those things. You're forgetting that there are some, let me say you're being the design lead or part of a team and your work is to do UI. There are some things, some icons. There are some icons, funny enough, that you do with GIF, like you do an animated image, not still image, and you can use it as your splash screen. It's not everything you code. Yes, you can code and make things bounce and move. Like when doing the PowerPoint, they are jumping in and out. It's just in PowerPoint though. Once you want to start developing app, you cannot just be putting animations anyhow. You need to code the animation. So we actually have codings that you can put in your styling to cause animation, transition, delays. We can do all those things. But then it's also good if you have a situation where you want to add a GIF, you can put a GIF. If you're designing a website where you need to put banners, where will you get these pictures from? You can't just go to Unsplash and get pictures. What if you get a picture that is square and maybe you want to add some effect or you want to touch it or the picture is not even fine, right? You should be able to know tools like Photoshop. That's what Photoshop can touch on your picture. Adobe Illustrator can help you do some icons, right? So you can also create icons, illustration, refining and visual aspect of the interface. If you're going to do, let me leave UI and UX now. If you're going to be doing PowerPoint presentations, document presentations, proposals, and all of those things, there are a lot of things you need to import, right? You need to bring in company logo. Sometimes you want to do a faded background, and faded background is something you want to work on. You design on it. The question page that we saw on our slide, the question page, I didn't really do the design from anywhere. I did the design right on PowerPoint. It means I had to look for the picture on Unsplash. I had to adjust it and make it to be sharp. I put it there, then I put another image on it, and I made it like purple, made it transparent a little, and every component, I designed it here. Why? Because of the little knowledge I have on designing. So whatever you're doing presentation-wise, you should use design, and so that you will be at the edge. So the next thing is front-end development tools. It's very important. I had to breathe to tell you this one because it looks heavy, but it's very important for you to have an idea of what this front-end development technology is. So the technology for front-end, why am I having this image on front-end technology? I'm so sorry. I think it should switch. That's not the image. But actually for front-end development technology is whatever you're designing. The idea of you to design is not to design it and leave it in your system. You're actually designing it for developers to be front-end developers to be able to convert your design and make it a real-life mobile app or website. But it's not like it's a must, but I think it will be very beautiful if you can interact with your developer and you're using the same terminologies they are using. Imagine that Lillian designs something and she's talking to me about make sure that the styling for the iPad sets the breakpoint level to be 680px. It will be very beautiful because it means I can ask her, I made it 680 whatever px, but it looks like it's some iPads and all this. Then you both can talk, okay, increase it to maybe 700 or reduce it, right? So it's very important. They're not saying that you must code, but at least know basic HTML. HTML is something that I can assure you can learn in 1 week. It cannot be more than 1 week to understand, at least understand what HTML is, right? Understand CSS style sheet. Now we have even a lot of framework that helps us to do the styling more effectively, but just have an idea. And again, if you learn these technologies, this front-end development technology, again, it will give you an extra edge because they are trying to employ you as a UI UX designer, but they discover that in your CV, you're writing that you know some of these front-end technologies. So we have HTML, we have CSS, we have JavaScript as the base. If you know these things, you can always jump on other frameworks like React, AngularJS. You can use some styling like Tailwind CSS, right? You can use SASS and all of those things for you. Just know those things at the upper level, but at least you can know the basics. So it's very important for you to also know some of this technology. And for those of us that are coming from the IT field, it will be very important for you. You already know this stuff. You're learning design. You're presenting yourself as a UI UX designer, or you're presenting yourself as a low-code, no-code developer, and then you already have the design skills and also have these front-end skills, you're good to go. Like you're good to go. So the next one is responsive design frameworks. So this is where we have the material UI that David was talking about the first time. We have Bootstrap, right? We have what's this other one? There are lots. There is Foundation. So all these are frameworks. What framework is that they are trying to help you do something more rapidly. They are set of libraries or components that help you to do things more and faster. Now, you can design all the things that you guys have been designing, the ones that design shopping carts, the ones that design the radio music station and the housing and all of those assignments. You can actually do it in one day with frameworks like material designs and all of this, but these things are components, right? If you're going to be doing a dashboard for me, you can pick all those components. So the frameworks like Bootstrap, Foundation, and Material UI enable the creation of responsive and mobile-friendly interface. This framework provides pre-built components. So that's the word, pre-built component, responsive grids, and style sheet that facilitate the development of consistent and responsive design. All that I just finished reading here is the fact that all these things you're trying to design, someone else have designed it for you. All you need now is for you to pick it and use it. But my opinion, if I'm to advise, I would not advise you to just go and pick these things and on board and use them. That's why I always stress on know these things first for yourself. Know how to work on it first for yourself. So when you get access to all these frameworks and all these pre-built components, you pick them, it will be easy for you to modify it. Right? It will be very easy for you to modify it. If you want to pick maybe a data table, you already can do data table by yourself. So when you pick data table and put in your design, you know what is happening. You can defend the design. If you put some interactions, some micro interactions, you pick it from your material UI, you bring it on your system, or some buttons that are displaying some effects, you already know how to do this effect yourself. So if you go to a company where they don't use open source, right? I know companies that don't use open source. I know companies that don't use things that people use. So even if it's free, they don't use it. I even told you as far as even font that everybody uses for free. The company don't use font. They're other people's fonts. We have the font we use, right? You can now start imagining why will a company have their own font. So if you're working with a company that don't like you using people's things, you have to do your things by yourself. So it's good for you to know this framework. It's good for you to know about it, try it in your designs, but then know the basics. Collaboration and project management tools is where we have Monday, we have the ClickUp, we have the Jira software, we have Teamwork, we have Slack, we have Microsoft Teams. We're using Microsoft Teams, right? So we have different tools that can help us to be able to collaborate and also manage. You should know them. I'm very sure that some of you don't even know Slack, but do you even know that this Slack that we're telling people to come and use it to interact, join this channel. We have channel for UI UX, we have channel for cloud engineering, we have channels, we have different channels. We're asking you to join channels. It looks like it's challenging. Do you know that the first thing you do in some company as they employ you is to join their Slack? It means all the teams, they communicate through Slack. Like they don't even use Teams, they use Slack. I know a very reputable company, international, all they use is Slack for their communication. Even some top companies in Nigeria, they use Slack. So today we're asking you to use Slack. You don't want to use Slack. Maybe you feel it's not user friendly. By the end of the day, you might end up using Slack in a company and you don't know about Slack, right? You don't even know about Teams. Some of us cannot even use these Teams and maybe to raise hands or to even unmute and all of those things. So all I'm trying to say is that we should try to know these tools. These are collaboration tools. Expose yourself to it. This bootcamp is to give you the design knowledge, but the bootcamp is not to tell you how to use Slack, right? The bootcamp is not to tell you how to use Jira software, but you should familiarize yourself with at least one. If you know Slack, you can be able to use other content management system that allows project management system. You can be able to use it to collaborate and do other things. If you know Slack, You can be able to use maybe I think we have other stuff like Teams. You can use Teams if you can use Slack, because it's the same. Having a channel in Teams, we also have channels. We can chat individually, you can private chat me, you can chat in a group, the same thing you can do in the other one. So that's it. Then user research and analytic tools. This is a bit advanced, but just have your mind around it, right? If you want to come into design, you should be able to know tools like User Zoom, Optimal Workshop, Ogia, Google Analytics, help gather user. Of course, these are just about user data and all that. Just do a little research about this stuff. But the most important thing is, I'm always stressing, know design first. And we also have accessibility tools, right? Tools like screen readers, voiceover, color contrast checkers, web content accessibility guidelines. So it means that as you're designing, when you choose your color, there are websites, it's like a standard. You can put in your colors and see if it's okay. You might be thinking of using indigo, and you put indigo only to discover that the standards of using fonts or colors on web is not acceptable to use indigo. And you didn't even know this, and you've been busy designing because you learned MeQuest Bootcamp on August. They say design and form color. You just start putting colors together, only for you to spend like 1 month in doing like 100 screens of this thing to discover that the color you're using is not acceptable globally. Right? And by the time you put that as your portfolio, they see that even the color you're using for your portfolio is even a color that is not recognized. They will now begin to ask themselves, then how is this guy now ready for this design job that we're about to give him? If he doesn't even in his portfolio is using colors that is not aligning, or is doing a site that when they look at the site, they are saying that you're not even putting, is a site that is supposed to have something that allows your site to breathe aloud, and you're not putting that functionality. So they even use your portfolio to judge you before they even call you for a job, right? Good. So you need to know these tools. You need to know the guidelines, what is acceptable, what kind of yellow is acceptable. Because your best color is yellow, you now decide to use yellow for your font. And when they ask you, say, that's my best color. It doesn't happen like that, right? So you cannot use yellow as font because it's your best color. So you need to follow guidelines. So the version control system is what I talked about earlier. We have the Git, and they manage design files, facelifting collaboration, and keeping track of design iterations and changes. So whatever you do, of course, if you're using Git, if you have like two different maybe design files, and one you did something for light background, and second one you did for dark background, and everyone is saying no, they need a white background, it's easy because your Git has the comment of each of the files, right? You can be able to go to the first one. So we also have design system and component library. This is just like the material kind of stuff. Their content that is already there. Today, if you want to make a button for login, if you want to design from scratch, it's good. If you don't want to design from scratch, you can go to something like maybe Pattern Lab or Storybook and take button, put in your system. I think this is the final expo that we're giving you, that all the things you've been doing since, you can actually integrate more third parties and make it more beautiful. But it's for those ones that have done the assignment, we really appreciate it. It means you've exposed yourself to knowing these things from scratch. So now you are free to start copying and pasting components. Yeah. So we also have places where you can just go and take buttons, you can go and take sliders, you can go and take menu that are dancing up and down, you can go and take data table, you can go and take footer, complete footer, you can go and take complete header, put in your work. It's just like when you want to do some presentation, some PPT, you can actually take a template, work with a template, right? You can either do from scratch, where we in our own work, we were able to put the footer, like we put the UI UX design, we put the logo, we put the page numbering at the down. This one is, we did it ourselves, right? But you can also look for templates that everything is there. So it's allowed in PPT, it's allowed in Word document, it's allowed everywhere. It's also allowed in design. It's also allowed in development, because there are places you go and take source code, right? You copy the source code, you've done your own mobile application, is allowed. The question is that can you be able to defend this? What if there is maybe a bug somewhere? Can you be able to rectify the bugs, right? So that, and then emerging technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality, voice interface, conversational user interface offer exciting opportunities for UX designers to explore new design. So of course, these are emerging technologies, and I think now you can use AI to also draft some kind of design. So these are little things that you can expose yourself to. It looks like it's a discussion class, but it's actually discussion, advice, and also practical, because as we're telling you these things, you need to implement, right? You need to implement these things. So the next is continuous learning, and I'm going to bring goodness as to cover this particular class. Should be able to tell us more and better about continuous learning.
Okay, so I'm going to talk on continuous learning. You can see my screen here. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
I can't hear
see.
anybody. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, the field of UX is continuously evolving, keeping up with the latest design trends, emerging technology, and industry best practice is essential, and is essential to create user-centric design. Continuous learning is crucial for UI UX designers to stay up to date with the latest trend, technology, and best practices in the field. It helps designers enhance their skill, expand their knowledge, and deliver exceptional user experiences. Here are some key aspects of continuous learning in UI UX design. I believe Ibuso has spoken a lot about continuous learning as well. So you want to keep learning every time because things change, right? Technologies change. 10 years before now, we don't use Figma, we use other tools. Now is basically Figma and no code tools are becoming more rampant, right? So you want to make sure that you're learning every day, and things change, people change, the things they like change as well. I think TikTok discovered something about users years back, that users just like to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, right? Other platforms started copying it. We had it on Instagram, we had it on what's it called now? We had it on Instagram. I think we have it on like Facebook now too. We have it on YouTube. YouTube has like that TikTok version, YouTube Shorts, right? I think Twitter has something like that now too, right? So users change, things change. So you want to keep learning to know the industry trends and what is going to help your users in your design phase. Yeah, so key pointers on continuous learning. And my slide is not showing the content.
Keep clicking. It's not.
Yeah, I can see your screen now. So I'm just going to use your screen basically. So take 19, yes. Stay up to date with industry trends. As I've earlier said, follow industry blogs, websites, and publications to stay informed about the latest trend, emerging technologies and design patterns in the UI UX field. Attend design conferences, webinars, and workshops just like this, right, to gain insights from industry experts and thought leaders, right? So you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with industry trends. As I've earlier said, things change, people change, user behaviors change. So you want to make sure that you're constantly designing with the latest industry trends, right? Yeah. Also, yeah, basically that's about staying up to date with industry trends. Engage in online communities. This is very important. Make sure that you are in a community where you're constantly learning. That's very important because truth be told, sometimes you get lazy, you don't feel like designing, you have questions. You want to be in a community where you can easily ask questions, where you are being encouraged to design and all of that, right? So that's the importance of joining online communities. Learn from case studies and design examples. So to get better with your designs, you can check case studies on platforms like Behance. personally, I use Behance, I use Dribble, I use Google as well. I use Google. I just search for stuff on Google, like UI design for maybe a SaaS platform, an e-commerce platform, and all that. And it brings screens. So I use Google. Basically, people don't use it, but I use it. I use Google. I just search and it brings screens, basically directing me to other platforms like Behance and Dribble, right? So I use Behance as well. I use Dribble as well. So yeah, you can use any of these platforms. And if you want to use, if you're looking for like UI designs for inspiration, not necessarily inspiration. So there is this platform, Mobbin, Mobbin. They have UIs for existing platforms, right? Platforms like Uber Eats, what other a lot of platforms are on that website, right? The UI of those platforms, existing platforms, right? So this is not just people. This is not like Behance or Dribble that is just frictional designs. These are like live designs. So you can go on there and check UI designs and replicate them basically, right? So it's going to help your design skills and yeah, it's going to help you basically. You can check case studies on Behance as well. So Behance is very good if you're looking for like case studies to check. Moving for mobile app UI designs. If you're looking for like just dashboards and basically nothing too serious, you're just looking for inspiration for website and all, Dribble is very good for that as well. And you can use Google just like me. Please, next screen. So, okay. Take online courses and tutorials. Yeah, you want to make sure that you're taking online courses. You can check platforms like Udemy, Coursera, LinkedIn. Yes, I use LinkedIn a lot. Basically, people drop articles on LinkedIn, and you can also use Medium. People drop articles on Medium as well. So you can use Medium. You can use LinkedIn if you're looking to read articles on like UX design. But if you want to take courses, you can use platforms like Udemy or Coursera. You can take courses on like typography. You know, you can take courses on typography. You can take courses on color. You can take courses on visual hierarchy and all of that. Most of these, I think Udemy and Coursera are paid. If you're looking for something that is not paid, you can use YouTube. I use YouTube a lot. I learn a lot using YouTube, so you can take advantage of YouTube as well. Participate in design challenges and competition. Yeah, I remember one particular case study on my Behance was through me participating in an online challenge, and I did exceptionally well. I did not win the money, right? But then it pushed me to do the extra, right? Because I wanted to win the money. So I went the extra mile. So yeah, you want to, even if you don't win the money, you can put it on your portfolio. So it's a win-win at the end of the day. Yeah, so participate in design challenges and competition, receive feedback from design communities. I don't know, platforms like Adobe Creative Jam and Design Challenge provide opportunities to display your work and learn from them. Also, you can check daily UI challenge on YouTube. Yes, I mostly recommend that for beginners as well. So daily UI challenge is basically you just dropping UI designs like every day. Is going to help like your design skill. You want to make sure that you're consistent, right? So that kind of channel can help you. It's not just going to show you the UI design, it's going to put you through how to design it. So that's going to be very helpful for you as well. Build a design portfolio. Oh my God, my light. Okay, so I'm going to turn off my camera right now. Build design portfolio. Continuously update and refine your design portfolio. Even me, I still design case study. I still post on my portfolio. I think the last one I posted was like, is it last week or 2 weeks ago? So you want to make sure there is no, you never get to a place where you're done. Like you're done with your portfolio. You're never done with your portfolio. You keep improving it every time. You keep updating it with new designs because there are constantly design trends and things for you to improve on, right? What you know last month is not what you know now, right? So you want to make sure that you are constantly updating your design portfolio. You can use Behance for your design portfolio. I use Behance. I'm just right now personally, I'm just designing my portfolio website. I've been trying to design my portfolio website for the longest time. But for a design, I feel it's really hard because you just feel like it's not good enough at like every point. It just seems like, oh, it's not good enough. I want to retract on it and everything. But this time I'm like, yeah, I'm going to design my portfolio website. But as a beginner, you can use Behance, you can use Dribble, right? Either one that works for you. You don't have to stress yourself with a personal website. But so you can use either of those two to build your design portfolio. What does your design portfolio really mean? It just means a place where you can give a link to for people to see your works, right? So you're done designing, just post it on Behance, post it on Dribble. When a client asks you for your portfolio, just send them a link to your Behance portfolio. Basically, that's all. There, Ibuso, please, next slide. Ibuso, are you there? Okay, experiment and explore new tools. Stay open to exploring modern design tools and software. Just as I've told you earlier, a design tool like Figma, we didn't have it like 10 years ago, right? People were not using it 10 years ago, but now it's like the collaborative tool that most companies are looking for people to have. We have Adobe XD as well. I don't use it personally, but Ibuso uses it, so she can talk about that later. But yeah, you want to experiment with different prototyping tools as well, design plugins and emerging technologies to expand your skill set and discover more efficient ways of working, right? You don't want to stick to, oh, it's only Figma that I know, that's the tool that the company has to stick with. No, you want to make sure that you are improving yourself every time, seeking new tools and knowing a lot of things. But don't get distracted by looking for new tools that you are not improving your design thinking process, right? Tools are tools at the end of the day, but you want to make sure that what you know in design, like you can use the same thing, the same UI. I can use Figma to design. Ibuso can use Adobe XD to design the same UI, right? What differentiates us is the knowledge that we both have, right, in design, and how users are able to easily go from one screen to another on our design, right? So you want to make sure that you're well grounded in the foundation of design, right? Design fundamentals before you start seeking new tools and all of that. Yeah, so make sure that you're well grounded in design fundamentals and foundation of design. Learn prototyping, learn visual hierarchy, learn user experience, how user interacts with products. Learn all of these. At the end of the day, you can use any tool or any software to design. Yeah, seek feedback and learn from users. This is very important, right? So you don't only have to learn from designers, right? I think I saw a trend recently that they were saying that designers design for designers, right? So you want to make sure that you're designing for users. You can easily learn from them. Your friends, you're done designing, just tell them, come and check this. What do you think? If you want to buy something on this screen, where do you think you should go to? You would be able to easily learn from somebody that is not a designer, right? Especially when it comes to user experience. So you can learn from users, collaborate with others. This is very important. Collaborate with other designers, developers, and all of that before you start working with a company. Basically, you want to be, even from here, you guys can talk on like the Slack channel and decide to collaborate to design a particular platform. I don't think we have developers on the Slack channel yet, but soon we should, right? So you can design something, collaborate with the developer to develop it, make it live, and yeah, it's on your portfolio. So you want to make sure that you're collaborating with others as well, not only designers, developers, marketers, and the likes, to make sure that you're you have a sound knowledge of how most of these things work. Just as Ibuso said when she was talking, you want to understand how they work so that you can you can be able to design better for them, and they are not struggling with your design when it comes to development. Reflect and iterate on your work. Reflect on your design process, project, and outcomes. Identify areas for improvement and iterate on your design based on feedback and new learnings. Embrace a mindset of continuous improvement and strive to refine your skills with each new project. So with each new project, you want to make sure that you're learning something new, you're experimenting on like what you have learned. I think recently I learned more about visual hierarchy. Not that I've not been working with visual hierarchy before, but I learned more about it, and I've been implementing it in any of my designs that I'm working with, right? So you want to make sure that you're iterating on your work every time. Your last work shouldn't be better than the one you're going to do again. I think personally that's one thing I make sure that I'm doing. One time like that, I designed something, and one of my friends was like, goodness, you've lost touch. I'm like, what? I've lost touch? How? So I made sure that the last design and the next design that I was going to do was like better in every way, because I don't want to hear that my last work was better than the new one that I'm doing. So that's the same mindset you should have. Make sure that every new work you're working on is better than the previous one that you have worked on. Why? Because you're constantly improving yourself, you're constantly learning, and you're constantly improving. Thank you. I think with these few points of mine, I hope I'll be able to convince and also confuse you that continuous learning is very good. Thank you.
However, she mentioned something. You mentioned something that I think I want to work on, just like you say, to experiment and explore new tools, right? So just like I was discussing with the team, they won't really. When I was telling them that the last time I used Figma was in 2021, and we're in 2023. Right? So even the stuff that I showed her I have is like far back, but I've been using SD. But because of the bootcamp, I had to jump on it, and I didn't find anything difficult. Why? Because the same experience I got first from Figma, I used it in SD. I was able to go back on Figma. So if I'm going to be joining any other team and they're using something else, it will be easy. So try to experiment different tools. Even for your designing tools, I normally was like more of master of CorelDRAW because that's what we were using in the location I was. But when I changed the location, they barely didn't even know CorelDRAW. I had to jump into using Illustrator and using Photoshop and InDesign and all that. So once you have the knowledge of design, you can use anything. Be the perfect, but I know that I can design anything. Why? Because I didn't plan to know how to design stuff. I just want the mindset of when things are like, just give some space to some things, know when to put animations and all that. So that's why, that's the real vision behind programs like this, is for us to teach you design, not to teach you how to design, but to teach you how to think to be a good designer. So in whatever situation you're being faced with, you can be able to implement design. So our project that we'll be facing next will not be just UI UX. I would like to see what you can do outside UI UX as well as UI UX as well. So let's not forget, today's summary is effective collaboration and communication are essential for successful UI UX design project. By fostering a collaborative environment, utilizing the right tools, and maintaining clear channels of communication, teams can work together efficiently, align on goals, and deliver exceptional user experiences. Like I say, UI UX design is not a job that you need to travel to a location. If you're good, you're good. So also know that design knowledge is continuously evolving, and designers should stay updated on latest technology, tools, and industry trends to enhance their skills and deliver cutting-edge designs. By embracing continuous learning, UI UX designer can stay at the forefront of the industry, improve their crafts, and deliver exceptional user experiences that meet the evolving needs of others. If you have this in mind, you'll be a winner forever in design.
MeQuest.